Like I said, lots of stuff going on. I can start off just by saying one of the things that's really on our minds as self publishers is the tariffs. And I've right now have my next Kickstarter kind of on hold because I'm terrified as to what I'm going to be looking at for tariffs. Uh, the printers I've used in the past have been overseas for the most part, and I don't. It's really hard to come up with a Kickstarter goal when you don't know if you're going to be paying as 30%, 40%, 100% more when that thing hits the ports. So yeah, tariffs. I don't know the right answer. I don't know the right answer for me on tariffs right now. Because I'm terrified to pull the trigger on the plans that I had. So, but we can definitely talk about that. Here's the deal. And I know somebody's going to jump in there and say, well, we've heard from so many sources. We've heard from so many sources that books aren't included in the tariffs, right? We've heard that a lot. And I've heard that from very good sources. And it makes me feel good that that's corroborated from a bunch of different sources. My problem is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, let's take that as read. Let's take it that the tariffs do not include books today, Friday. What is it? April 18th. Fantastic. What happens on the 19th? Everything is changing so quickly and with absolutely no warning that you could very easily get into a situation where you pull the trigger on a book run, and then as the books are being printed, a new tariff is passed and you're not able to accept them into port. So I don't know what the right answer is for that. Er Flynn says, I used Ingram for publishing and it was a mixed bag. Yeah, and we can talk about that too. I'm not familiar with Ingram specifically, uh, and I don't know what kind of printing they do. Uh, but my experience has been, especially with things like anything that's print on demand. In other words, if you can upload your PDF and somebody can buy just one copy of it, the profit margin on that tends to be very low. And you can't generate a good living doing that. You can't generate steam. Uh, uh, Print on demand is a great place to start. It's a lousy place to stay when it comes to self publishing. I don't know whether that's what Ingram is or not. Now, they could be digital printing, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're print on demand. They could be digital printing and printing in bulk. You get a little bit better return on investment there. You get a little bit better profit margin. But Ingram Sparks, self okay, yeah. So here's the deal with that. I can tell just by looking at that. That's basically print on demand. And again, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to get your feet wet. It's a great place to learn the basics of publishing. What I want to encourage you is to start working towards the place where you can do a Kickstarter, buy 500, 1,000 books at a time, put them into storage. Only then can you, and then sell them on Amazon and directly to your readers. Only then can you really get the return on investment, that profit margin that's going to help you turn this into financially secure for yourself. Corey's here. I know Corey from Substack. Welcome. So yeah, that's where we are with tariffs right now. I would love to tell you that I've got it all figured out. And I would love to tell you that I even believe these sources that say, well, books are exempt. I and I'm sure that again today on the 18th they're exempt. I don't know what it's going to be on the 19th or the 20th or going down the road. So That's we're in a really difficult spot. I'm watching a lot of publishers right now to see what's happening, even like Marvel, DC, Image, and so forth, because I'm sure they're in similar situations, and I'm waiting to see what happens with when some of these books start hitting the shores, because there's going to be maybe a month, a 2 month kind of backlog until we really see what's happening there, and I'm watching that really closely. So, like I said, any topics, anything that people want to talk about, and again, it doesn't have to be all business. It doesn't have to be that. We can talk about lots of different stuff. If you're familiar with the podcast I do with Dave Kellett, Comic Lab, we tend to run the gamut on that show, not only talking about writing and art and lettering, but we also talk about the business aspect, the promotional aspect. Branding has been a really big topic lately. I've been really seeing some issues where I think self-publishing cartoonists can up their game in terms of branding. How's the experience with a Kickstarter when you have a pretty small social presence? That's what's holding me back, says E.R. Flynn. Well, that's great. That's actually a fantastic topic. Let me get up to the table here. You can tell I'm getting all ready to talk. Welcome, Simone. Uh, so let's talk about Kickstarter when you have a small audience. I've got good news and I've got bad news for somebody with a small audience. And I'll give you the bad news. It's not bad news, it's just disappointing. It's not what you want to hear news, all right? And that is, like I say on the show all the time, uh, everything you need to know about crowdfunding is in the word. First comes the crowd, then comes the funding. If you don't got no crowd, you don't got no funding. Okay, that's disappointing to hear. It means you need to focus on building the audience and doing things like that. And that has been since we started Comic Lab in 2018. So we're into our 7th year now. That has been my standard advice for that. It is just no crowd, no funding. I've been having being somebody that watches Kickstarter an awful lot. Uh, and Hawkstone, I just glanced at that. I'm gonna get to that Hawkstone. Uh, Being somebody that watches Kickstarter an awful lot, what I've seen is that people are really leaning into Kickstarter as social media. Okay, you can hear every Comic Lab show we've ever talked about Kickstarter. Every Kickstarter we've ever done, most and by a long like 60-70% of the pledges come in through Kickstarter in one of their discovery mechanisms. All right, uh, that's incredible. Okay, no other platform, not Patreon, none of them have that kind of discovery built into it. I don't know what they did. I wish they could bottle it and sell it to everybody else, but are amazing with discovery, which means you can actually use Kickstarter as a social media. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Every Kickstarter I've ever done, I reach out to the people that backed the previous Kickstarters. And I say, hey, you backed this other thing that I do. Maybe you'd like to back this thing. And it works like a charm. And they come out and they pledge to the next thing. They not only do they are they not annoyed by that they're happy. The one time I didn't do it because I got into my head that nobody wanted to hear from me, which is bullshit. Sorry, Substack, which is crap. Uh, my readers got yanked my chain and said, "Hey, how come you're not telling us about this? What are you doing, dummy?" So here's the thing for ER, who says, "Hey, I got a small." Here's what you can do. You can build a small Kickstarter, small manageable Kickstarter. Okay. And if you're a subscriber to the Webcomics Handbook, I've got a great post there called Kickstarter Math that helps you do the preliminary math for your Kickstarter. Okay. And what you can do is do a small manageable Kickstarter, knowing that you're not going to blow the doors off. But what you do is when you get that Kickstarter, you fulfill that Kickstarter, you satisfy those people, you lock them into being fans and therefore customers, and then you do another Kickstarter and you build off of the people that you built on the first Kickstarter. I see an awful lot of people actually doing this and making it work. And I think you can do that. And that doesn't mean that you give up on audience building elsewhere, but you can start to build up through these Kickstarters and and use Kickstarter's discovery systems to be your social media. That's actually something I'm seeing some people doing, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I, uh, there's some people that do floppies. That's fine. I again, the profit margin on floppies is so low. I'm not crazy about it, but again, if that's where you need to start, then do that thing. Uh, and work your way towards bigger print runs that give you a lower unit cost. But I could see some, ER, if you wanted to experiment with that, you could absolutely say, okay, I'm doing this Kickstarter, a small Kickstarter, for the whole reason of building a reputation, of being somebody that delivers wonderful things on time, and then build to the next one and build to the next one. Hawkstone says, about print on demand, I just don't have the numbers to reach that quantity. I'd love to, but I can't. Is digital printing really that bad? It depends on your digital printer. But here's the thing. Again, what I say about it, there's some digital printing, by the way, that's very, very good. Okay. What I'm looking at there is quality and unit cost. I want the highest quality for the lowest unit cost because that unit cost is what's going to bring me financial stability. And that's important, which is why it's okay for people to start at print on demand just to get their feet wet. Eventually, you need to start going out looking for printers, looking and having them send you samples and talking to people who have used those printers and so on and so forth, and and work on getting that unit price down. I think Dave's rule of thumb for anything that he produces is that he takes that unit cost. I think he multiplies it by 5, maybe 6, to get his retail cost. You've got to get your unit cost pretty low before you're doing that, or you're selling a 30-page graphic novel for 60 bucks, right? Nobody's going to buy that unless it's one hell of a graphic novel, right? So those are the things I'm looking for, Hawkstone. I'm looking for high quality and low unit cost. And that's it. As you might imagine, that's kind of tough to do, right? Offset can do it because it was built for that. That's what Offset is built for, is to run a whole bulk of them. And by the way, a whole bulk, I don't even know that's a word, but you can do print runs on Offset sometimes as low as like 500, which really isn't that much, right? You can put them in your basement. You can put them in a storage area and so forth. It's not milk. They're not going to spoil, and then sell them as you go, mainly aiming towards your website and Amazon. Those are the two biggies as far as I'm concerned. Corey says, "Oh, Chris Eliopoulos is here. Hi, Chris. How you doing?" Uh, and Tatiana's here. Tatiana's a great name. I need to make a character called Tatiana. That's a great name. Angela's here. I know Angela from online. Welcome. Corey says, I'm 23 pages into my comic, Rage of Enlightenment. I got a couple hundred subscribers, but not a lot of engagement. I know it's early, but how would you recommend I drive more engagement, comments, and shares, and so on and so forth? So Corey, there's an awful lot there, and I'm going to assume that Rage of Enlightenment, just from the title, is a long form comic storytelling thing. So let's talk about that. Nathan's here. Tyler, holy cats! What do we got? 21 people here. Hey, thank you for showing up, you guys. I appreciate it. Uh, so, Corey, let's talk about what you're doing there. So, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. And if you're a subscriber to the Webcomics Handbook, especially on Substack, I have a whole strategy for publishing comics on Substack that leans into how Substack works, and it leans into its SEO, leans into how people are reading it. Okay. And I encourage you to go check that out. I'll give you the broad strokes, but there's about 4 or 5 posts on the Webcomics Handbook that talk really in detail about using Substack and other social media. But since we're on Substack, we'll focus there. And I think what you're talking about when you're with your subscribers is on Substack. Those are Substack numbers, I'll bet. But first of all, let's understand that Substack. I'm going on Substack. Yeah, I'm gonna go Substack here. We're doing it live. Substack. You've got Substack is two things. Substack is posts and notes. Posts are the your subscribers get your posts. And they get an email notification. They can read it in their email. They can come over and read it on Substack. Uh, Corey confirmed it. Substack numbers, great. So posts go out to your subscribers, okay? And Webcomics Handbook has like literally shows you how to set up a comic for a Substack post. I'll give you some of the long strokes right now, and that is it should be vertical scroll. I don't care if you're doing a full page comic like I do. I do a comic that is that goes into full page. In fact, my pages are like European pages. They're usually about 14 panels a page. Okay. Uh, I can do that on Substack. And I explain in a couple of posts how I do that as well. But on Substack, it needs to be a vertical scroll because everybody's reading on their phones. Okay, so those of us who grew up with newspaper comic strips, you cannot post a comic strip on social media or Substack. It's got to be stripped into a vertical scroll. Those of us doing full page, we've got to make that into a vertical scroll. You don't have a choice. That's how it's read by your people. Okay, so you're going to do every time a new comic update. It's time to send that out. And we're going to talk about a comic update in the middle. Remind me if I don't come back to it. Just say, "Hey, guy, your comic update." Every time it's time to do a comic update, you're going to send that out in a vertical scroll. You're going to put a little something, just a real quick 2 or 3 sentence intro in case I don't remember you, or maybe this is the first time I'm getting it, just to introduce me to what's happening here. Don't fumfer. Don't. It's so many people on Substack. You guys on Substack are driving me crazy because I read your stuff and there's a bunch of fumpering. When I read your stuff on Substack, I don't want you to say, "Hey, it's me, your old friend Slim Goodbody, and it's a great day, and I really do love root beer." Screw that. Get to the point, all right? Because your reader has other things to do. Get to the point. You don't have time for intros and fumfering and all that other stuff. So you're going to give me a little 1 or 2 sentence intro and then give me that vertical scroll. Then, if you got any promotion to do it underneath there. Never put the promo at the top. It's the quickest way to get somebody to click right off you. They don't want promo. They're trained to disregard that. It's the only way we survive in this capitalist system. If we got obstructed and distracted by every promo we saw, we'd be broke, right? Put yourself in the shoes of the person reading. They don't want the promo first. They want the good stuff. They want the comic. So if you got a little promo, you're promoting something, put it after that. Then put the transcript to your comic. Okay. Now, transcripts are great to have. I know they're not first top thought for a lot of us, but you can include those in alt tags when you're posting your images. And it, I don't care how you feel about that. What that does is it helps the SEO of that post. And the thing that Substack's really powerful about is after that post goes live and becomes public, it has really good SEO functions, search engine optimization, but search engines don't, they not yet. They're going to get there real soon, but they don't search images. And so all those words that you've got in the images don't count yet. So until that happens, we've got a transcript that they can easily spider and help people find your stuff based on the words that are there. That's really powerful for you, and it's really great. Substack's very good about that. That's going to help you out as well. So, long form comics. What is a comic update? I didn't forget. What is a comic update? So we've got every comic update And by the way, an update is not a page in your graphic novel. Those might be two different things. One of my updates is half of a page. One of Dave Kellett's updates might be 2 pages. Do you understand? That's because an update has a Dave just texted me, as a matter of fact. Uh, you can tell he's not at my live. That's the problem. Uh, an update is not a page. And if you get into that mindset of you're posting pages, you're missing the point and you're missing reader retention opportunities. Let me tell you the difference between a page and an update. An update, something you put out on social media, something you put on your website, has to have an entry point and a moment of significance. Entry point has to be at the beginning, moment of significance happens at the end. And every update has to have that. Okay? Now, that means you got to write this thing a little bit differently. You've got to keep that in mind. It's not a death sentence, by the way. It's not that you've got to make your writing ham handed. But as you're writing the top of that page or the top of what's going to become a comic update on social media, you have to remember that every day somebody is reading your comic for the first time. And you need to capture that person if you're going to have an audience. Okay. So that first panel has to be accessible to the stranger. They're catching the problem with social media is they're catching you on page 12. You got to capture them on page 12 on that update that contains the content of page 12 and whatever else. There's lots of ways to do that. Don't get trapped. Don't get trapped by your lack of willingness to do this. This is where your creativity comes to bear. Okay? You can have, for example, a panel that doesn't appear in the book that just serves to introduce that topic for that day. Use your creativity. There's 100 ways to solve this. Okay? But on that update, that stranger on page 12 has to have a reason to go from panel 1 to panel 2. Okay? And they got to understand what's going on. That's hard to do. It's going to change the way you write a little bit, or it's going to change the way you post on social media a little bit. That's between you and your creativity, but I've got to have a point of entry if you're going to build audience. And I've got to have a moment of significance at the end. And when I get to the last panel in that day's update, it's got to mean something. Something's got to happen. I got to have a punchline. I got to have a surprise. I've got to have a moment. I've got to have something there. By the way, I see people all the time. Well, I'll do a cliffhanger. You do a cliffhanger in every update, you're going to get boring really quick. You can do a cliffhanger once in a while, but you've got to make that update mean something on the last panel. And that's why I say your pages may not be updates. Because if you're writing something that doesn't happen, then it might be that 2 pages is an update. Do you understand what I just said to you? Okay, something's got to happen at the end of that update. If I read through your stuff, and I'm number one, if I don't have a point of entry, I'm never making it from panel 1 to panel 2. And if I get to the last panel and nothing happened there, I'm never reading you again. I've got too many things to scroll by. And the bad thing about it is what happens is you burn somebody once or twice, they recognize your style and they skip past you next time because you didn't satisfy them. Okay? So lots of stuff to remember there. Your page is not an update. Long form comics have to have a point of entry and a moment of significance at the end. And then, and by the way, we're only halfway through the Substack conversation because we're still talking about posts. Okay? That's just posts. Remember I said at the beginning, Substack is 2 things, notes and posts. We just got done. I just looked at myself and I'm doing this in the screen. I must be a joy if you're looking at this on your phone. That's just posts. Okay. Now let's talk about notes. Notes is Substack's social media. And your subscribers I don't know. It depends on if they use Substack or the app. But you know how your posts go out to your subscribers? Well, your notes go out to your followers. That's why when you look in your stats, you see subscribers and followers. The followers are getting your Substack notes. That's the social media aspect of Substack. Okay. So on notes, you're going to do a lot more than just promote your posts. You're going to be doing the 4 C's of social media on Substack notes. That's your content. That's not only your comic, but other things that you choose to say. You've got more than just your comic when it comes to content. Okay, that's original thoughts. That's, you see me on Substack. I do a little morning affirmation. I do an evening affirmation. That's all content. It's not comics, but it includes comics. Okay, so that's one of the 4 C's. Number two is I'll get to the one you want to talk about. Commercial. Everybody wants to do commercial. In fact, there's a lot of people too much commercial on their social media, and that's where you say, "Here's my Kickstarter. Here's my Patreon. Here's my subscribe to my Substack." That's all commercial. Okay. And it has its place, but it's only one of the 4 C's. And if you have enough of the other 3 C's, nobody's going to blanch at your commercial, right? But you've got to have it in balance. Number 3, this is the one that is super powerful and nobody does it. Hardly anybody does it. It's curation. That's where you take somebody else's post and you repost it on your social media feed, retweet, reskeet, whatever you want to call it, restack on Substack. Uh, Curation is incredibly important. Number one, it gives you a higher volume for the people following you on your feed. And that's good because what did I tell you? If you're going to do commercial, you got to have a lot of those other things. Curation is how you get there. Number two, you're making friends. Social media is social. Okay. And if you want to be social, if you want to be a success on social media, you've got to be social. If you're a curmudgeon like me and you're kind of an introvert and social doesn't come natural to you, I get it. It doesn't come natural to me either. But you've got to do that if you're going to succeed on social media. Curation, posting somebody else's stuff, also uh, tells your reader who you are. It's another way. Everything that we do. I use this example all the time. Every shirt you wear, I'm wearing a Temple University shirt. My 2 sons go to Temple University. Everything that you do, everything that you wear, is a way for you to tell the world who you are nonverbally. Okay, it's signaling. Curation fits exactly into that. Curation is a way for you to tell the world who you are, and your readers want to know that. Okay, so you can be in choosing to share certain things. In other words, I don't want you to share something you're not comfortable with just for the sake of pushing the button. All right, but sharing things and taking a broader mind than you do right now about what to share, that is powerful, and it's good for you, and it's good for your for the people you're sharing, because those people, by the way, just think about how you are. If somebody shares your work, you feel good about that person because they clearly understand greatness when they see it, right? Because they shared you. You're going to feel good about that person. You're going to remember that person. You're going to probably do what you can to give their Kickstarter a nudge when it comes by, even if that means just sharing it because they shared you. Curation. It's incredibly powerful, and almost none of you do it. All right? And number 4 is, on the show, we always say the 4th C is kindness. It's more accurate to say that the 4th C is comment. Here's another one you're not doing. Uh, Comment. In other words, social media is social. So you should be commenting on other people's posts in a fun, happy, upbeat way, right? In a way that you become part of other communities. That's a big, big draw. You don't know how many people are discovering you because they see you making a happy, upbeat, insightful, smart comment on somebody else's post. And then they go over to your profile. Oh, if I don't talk about profiles, that's a branding thing. We're going to talk about it coming up on Comic Lab. But if I don't say somebody nudge me and say profiles if I don't come back to it. I'm off on so many tangents already. But that's what you're going to do on Substack Notes. And you're going to also do it on Blue Sky, any other social media that you do. The 4 C's of social media, incredibly powerful, and it doesn't take a lot to do. This is not a full-time job, okay? I post at a huge volume. I use a scheduler to do my posts, but I also have a lot of stuff that I'm talking about in a given day. I'm doing two different comics. I'm doing a series of single panels for my Patreon backers. I do a podcast. I got a new YouTube show. I got a lot to run my mouth about. Okay. So I post at a huge volume. You don't have to post at my volume, but you do have to make it a point. Listen, if most of us have our phones out scrolling mindlessly anyway, if you're going to do that, do a little something to edge your career forward. And instead of scrolling mindlessly, say, Geiger tells me this is the time to do the 4 C's. I'm going to do a couple of those right now. Curate, comment, bing, bang, boom, create. You're going to do yourself some big favors doing that. Okay. Holy cats. I talked for so long. I am way behind. John says it's a shame that Kickstarter based Patreon clone went nowhere. Yeah, it is. I had kind of hopes for that as well. Beep, 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 beep. Here comes Shep. Oh, Shep, welcome. I'm starting a historical comment and will be writing titles of kings and queens. Is it breaking the crossbar I rule if I use a crossbar I? Do you use the crossbar I in Roman numerals? It seems to look a bit better writing I or IV with crossbars. Uh, I think we talked about Roman numerals on the show once, and I think where we came down on it is that this is really an aesthetic thing. Actually, you know what? Somebody who knows way more about lettering is here than I am. I'm going to defer to Chris Eliopoulos. He's going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to say I think that's a rare use of the crossbar I. In other words, I think I would use a Roman numeral in crossbar I's, especially since I wouldn't want it to look like two letters like IV. If I'm wrong, Chris will tell me. And if Chris tells me I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. He knows more about this than I do. But for me, my first guess on that would be that I would use that crossbar I there. Let's see. Now I'm looking at my chat to see if I did I crossbars? Yes. Oh, and Chris says Marvel Style Guide is crossbars. All right, so you can take that to the bank. I was right on that one. I could be full of shnikes on everything else, but I was right about that. Michael's here. Philip is here. Welcome, welcome. Angela's here. Angela, I know you from the Comic Lab, don't I? Does the comic transcript include the image descriptions? If so, how long of a description do you do per panel? The answer to that one is just enough. I don't get too carried away in that. I try not, because let's face it, you could end up, that could be a time sink. So I do just enough. I don't need to know if it's important that my character's wearing a blue blazer, then I'll say he's in a blue blazer. But if it's not important, I'm not going to mention it at all. So use your discretion. My opinion there is just enough. Because again, a lot of the reasons we're doing this is to help people out who may be vision impaired, which is a good thing to do, and also for SEO. But even that SEO has a point of diminishing returns. Okay, so be careful. Don't let that become a time sink. The answer there is just enough, I think. Elena's joined us. That's fantastic. Matt Scott says, usually it's me who's reading my comic for the first time. I really should plan these things out more, but that's just yucking my own yum. Yeah, Scott, I'm not sure what part of that, because we've gone so far, but I really, really want to encourage all of us to, after you've done that comic, before you post it, let it sit for at least a couple of days. Best case scenario, a week. It's the only way you're really going to judge whether that, especially if you're doing humor, it's the only way you're going to judge if that punchline is landing. is when you come at it completely cold, out of your head, out of that mindset that you were when you first ideated it. Uh, you've got two choices. All right. There's some people I see them. I see they post every day, every day, every day. They've got a new comic every day, every day, and every day. The problem is the comic's not very good. Okay. And I think they would be able to see it if they gave it that time. If it means that you've got to throttle back on your posting schedule and give me steaks twice a week instead of giving me not so great stuff every day of the week, I'll take the steaks. I'll wait for the better content if giving it that time means that you can improve it before it posts. That's something we all got to work at. Social media has us all conned into thinking we got to post as often as possible. Post, post, post. We got to satisfy the algorithm. The problem is that only works for one person, the person running the platform. Doesn't work for the creator. And you will find this takes some confidence, but trust me, I've got a 25-year career that proves this. Your readers will wait for better content. And if it means that you write that thing and let it sit for a week and then rewrite it before you actually put it into form, before you actually draw it out, and you get that time to see that and say, "Oh man, that's not landing. That doesn't make any sense what I said there." Uh, then do that. Do that. Another thing, if you're not, if you're like me, if you're a terrible speller, or if you make grammatical mistakes, if you like then THEN and than THAN, I got a subscription to Grammarly, the best money I ever spent. Okay, because I'm a terrible speller. I catch all of that stuff. If you're working in humor and you don't, if you do one of the theirs wrong, THEIR, THEY apostrophe RE, you get that wrong, you're working in humor, all of that stuff is lightning fast. If you get a word wrong because you're not so good at that stuff like I am, you lose people immediately. Remember what I said a couple minutes ago, and people remember getting burned by you. And the next time they see you, they scroll right past. Grammarly is a great investment. Marguerite is here. Hey, fantastic. Uh, Speaking of overseas, there's a friend of mine from far away. Thank you for joining us. Merrick is here. Hopefully, I pronounced that right. Merrick or Merrick? It's got to be Merrick. It's got to be. I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't insult you. ER recently was asked to submit a comic to a publication on Medium.com, and they have a whole other batch of rules to consider. Maybe I should hire an intern to deal with all this so I can just get back to creating comics. Maybe do a cost benefit analysis before you do that. In other words, if this is one of the reasons that I work alone in this studio. And I said this to a guy I did a consultation with yesterday. We were talking about advertising, but the same thing. If I spend $10, I got to get 15 back when it comes to something like this. Okay. If you're going to hire an intern, you got to make sure that what you get in benefit, and don't let them sell you on exposure. Oh, you're going to get big audience. That's crap. Any amount that you spend, you got to get a return on that investment. Okay. So if they're offering you big money at medium.com, then yeah, hire an intern. If not, I don't know that that's a great idea. Reese says, "Hey, Brad, I'm working on a long form webcomic that has no release date yet, and I'm still in prep. How do I create hype and sort of fan base for a comic that doesn't exist yet?" That's a great question. So, Ree, I'm going to point you back to the conversation about the four C's, because you're going to do all that stuff. But instead of posting comics, obviously you're going to be posting thoughts and things that are happening in your life to the extent that you're comfortable. All of us have a different line that we draw on what we're willing to share on social media, and everybody's line is their line. Nobody gets to question that. So the stuff that you are comfortable sharing, and also if you're not posting the comic, that's okay. You can post sketches. You can post, preliminaries. You can post illustrations that you were working on while you were ideating. You can post stuff that has nothing to do with this comic, but it's just charming, delightful stuff that you did. Pages from your sketchbook. A couple of my most popular Substack posts were pages from my sketchbook. Dumb. Half of them were comics that I had never ended up making because I just wasn't able to land what was going on there. And some of them had nothing to them. They were just a dumb doodle. Okay, but people love watching the process. There's another one you can do is time lapse video. I've been posting a couple of those recently. You can post a time lapse video if you want working on something. If you work in Clip Studio, that's a built-in feature. They can record a time-lapse video. It doesn't lag my computer at all. And then when I'm done, if I want to post the time-lapse of what it took to draw that page, it's a click of a button. Okay, so that's what you do. You don't have to. You have to. And by the way, you don't even have to say if you're. Don't. Here's what you don't do. Don't spend every freaking post telling me, "Well, I'm going to do a comic someday. This is for my comic that's coming out someday." You know what? I don't even necessarily want to hear that much about it. I just want to see an artist doing what they love. Okay. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You can tell I've been running my mouth. So a lot of us are scared to do self promotion. A lot of us we don't feel comfortable doing self promotion, and you don't. I'll bet you feel comfortable like I did. I didn't feel comfortable posting stuff from my sketchbook. But there's two things you're bulletproof on: pride and joy. Just remember, Geiger tells you pride and joy. If you are ever questioning how to present something, talk about why doing that thing made you proud or why you're proud of it, or how this thing brought you joy. Nobody can say beans to that. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, you shouldn't be proud of that." Of course they're not. And if they do, block them. Tell them to go jump. Same thing with joy. Nobody's going to say, "Well, that didn't really bring you joy." Screw that. There's another block. Use that block function. Get rid of them. But more to the point, people love to see somebody talking about something that's joyful to them. My son plays Super Smash Bros. On a competitive level. He just won like a little mini tournament last night. Came home with $50. He's a nut. Just between you and me, I don't really. I'm not a video game guy in general, and Super Smash, I could take it or leave it. But when he comes home and he's telling me about his tournament, and he's telling me about this character and that character and what he did and that, I can listen to that for a long, long time because I'm listening to somebody who's telling me about his joy. I can listen to people talk about their joy for a long time. I don't need to know. I don't need to know about Super Smash. I don't need to care about it. But I can listen to this guy talk about his joy for hours. And believe me, sometimes I have. The guy's a talker like his dad. So talk about your pride and joy. And don't worry, don't worry about whether you're promoting or not. Right now, you should just be building on social media. One of you was supposed to nudge me about, oh my gosh, I'm way behind you guys. I'm sorry. Nudge me about branding. Okay, let's talk one more thing about social media branding. Right now, when we're done with this, go to your main social media. Yeah, profiles. That's where I'm going to talk about, Corey. When we're done with this live stream, and we're going to have to wrap up in about 15 minutes or so because I'm starting to run out of steam here. But when we're done, go to your social media profile. Here's what I want out of everyone's social media profile, because social media profiles, your profile page, that is an epic opportunity for branding that almost all of us miss. I want you to look at your social media profile and ask yourself, does it answer these three questions? Who are you? What do you do? And why should I care? If your social media profile is something like, "I'm three wombats in a trench coat. Boy, do I love root beer." That's horrible branding. It doesn't tell me anything. I don't know whether I'm allowed to swear on Substack. It doesn't tell me shnikes. Okay? And branding, this is going to sound ironic here. Branding is the one time I don't want you to be creative. When you're branding, when something falls under branding, I want you to have clear, concise communication. So your social media profile, that's a branding issue. And there, I need three things out of you. Who are you? What do you do? And why should I care? Okay? All that other cutesy crap, delete. I don't care if you're three wombats in a trench coat. I don't care that you like ice cream or root beer or whatever. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I care? That needs to be the three questions your social media profile answers. Okay, John Ward is here. Hey, I did a great interview on John Ward's show. By the way, you should click on his name and check him out. Does a great podcast and he has great guests. I can tell you that because I was one. Let's go down to Ryan. There's another name I recognize. How you doing, Ryan? Literally sitting here watching the Four Seas while my Four Seas magnet is staring back. Yeah, I got a few of those as well over here. Shep, okay, great. Tatiana. Oh, Tatiana had to go. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. This was great. Hope to catch more of that. Thank you so much. I love the idea of waiting a week to revisit something you think is finished. A buffer for your buffer. Yes, Ryan, a buffer for your buffer. Yes. I'm telling you, you don't need to give me crap every day. I'll wait for a steak, even if it's once a week, even if that's what it's. If I know somebody, there's a bunch of people I follow. They only post once a week. When I see them in my feed, I run to them because I know it's going to be a steak. And you don't get there, especially if you're doing humor. You don't get there by mistake. Humor has to be written and rewritten. You got to get out of your mindset and read it cold as your reader is reading it. All that stuff will jump out at you. I'm telling you. If I could reach through the screen and get you to do one thing, it would be to take some time. ER says he's got to jump. This has been great. Hey, thank you so much. When you say "Who are you?" what do you mean specifically? No, listen, Corey. this is clear and concise. Who are you? You are Corey Kerr. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. Don't get cute with me. Don't get funny. Don't get creative. Who are you? You're Corey Kerr. The questions only get harder from here on in. Okay? Don't get confused. This is very, very clear and concise. Who are you means what is your name or what is your handle, your pen name. I don't care. Who are you? What do you do? And then the third one you're going to spend some time on. Why should I care? Okay, and you got to answer that. I can't answer that for you. But that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking at a social, and of course links. The space you've got left, either give me a link tree or give me your best links, something, because you don't know how many times I've seen somebody and I'm like, oh, I want to work with this person, or I want to interview them on the show, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And I go to their social media profile and there's no contact information there. It's mad. And you'd be surprised how often it happens. Again, everybody has a different line. You might not want to put your email there. I get that. But I need some way of contacting you on that social media profile because that's the reason you're on social media, to get people to say, "Oh, I want to reach out and talk to this person about XYZ." Okay? That's important. You need contact information. I'm telling you, go and make a list because all of us have multiple social medias. Go right down the line and go one after another after another. Who are you? What do you do? And why should I care? No cute stuff, no poetry, no nothing. Just give me the facts. That's all I want there. Branding is all about clear, concise communication. Okay, it's about 10 till. I am getting ready. The old man is getting ready to take a nap here. I get so wound up during these things. You should see me. This is where I record Comic Lab from, this very corner of the studio. You should see me at the end of Comic Lab. I'm freaking like absolutely laid out. One more question. Give me one more topic to finish strong on. That then I can feel like I did something good today with my time. uh, anything at all that anybody wants to tell. Man, we got 31 people here. I was expecting closer to three. That's officially 10 times better than I thought. Maybe I should do this. Maybe, I used to do this on TikTok. Uh, I'll have to see if I get a video of this at the end. I can chop these up and put them on social media. By the way, that's another in fact, somebody last night or yesterday had a consultation, and if you're interested in the consultation, you could have me yelling at you directly. Wouldn't that be great? You can hire me for a consultation. Go to my Substack webcomics handbook, and you'll see it's the main thing on the webcomics handbook. I can yell at you for a very reasonable price, just one on one. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But this person said, "Yeah, I really like this concept of using all parts of the buffalo." And that's really what we do as self-publishers. You will see, by the way, if I have any opportunity, if I get a video of this, you will see this chopped up and reused. I don't do this stuff just to do it. I'm going to do it and then use it and reuse it. It's going to be social media. It's going to be, you're going to see it again. And if this is good, maybe we'll make it like a Friday thing. I like the idea of having like a Friday afternoon get together for us. John, okay, John knows what he's talking about. You will get a video, it'll be in drafts. That's fantastic. Do you have any quick tips on growing an online art shop? Uh, Take everything that I said about the four C's of social media and everything I said about audience building for a cartoonist or a comic artist, and then remember that one of those four C's is commercial, and your art shop is going to fall into that. So, quick tips. Everything that I said in this live stream that had to do with audience building and the four C's of social media, realizing that one of those things you're funneling people towards in the commercial part is going to be uh, that art shop. Okay. Angela says, with so many projects on the go and then waiting a week to post it, how do you remember to post things? I got listen. I've got so many of these freaking post-it notes around here. It's all post-it notes. Here's one that didn't quite make it. I got post-it notes. I use buffer.com for a scheduler, so I'm usually scheduled out like a week or 2 weeks in advance. Uh, and also, I live for this stuff. Here's the deal. If you're the type of person that I've got to grab you by the neck and say, stop posting crap every day and give me a steak every week, if you're that person and I got to grab you to tell you that, you're not going to forget to post. You're going to be champing at the bit to post. You're going to be going out of your head, and that's okay. That's a good thing. That's fine. But if it's important to you, you'll remember. I'm not worried, Angela. You're not gonna forget. Frangela says, "I'd love this as a Friday thing." Stan's, oh hey, Stan's here. Thanks for joining us. I vote for a regular Friday Brad Says stream. Well, I like that idea. I like the idea. And listen, this was way more people showing up than I thought we'd get. So yeah, maybe we'll watch my Substack. If you're not already subscribed, do subscribe. I will say this for all of you who subscribed for the live stream and everything, which is great. I appreciate that. Uh, I don't post a lot of free stuff on the Webcomics Handbook. It's almost all uh, paid posts, and that's because mainly those are stuff that I'm also posting on webcomics.com, and it's not fair to my subscribers if I'm posting free content. It's just how it has to be on that. Evil Inc., most of those, it's just the other way around. In fact, almost all of those, if not all of my posts on the Evil Inc. Substack are free. That you can get lots of free stuff there. But if you're subscribed to the Webcomics Handbook, what I am doing now is like on the weekend. Oh, I forgot. Oh, and you know what? It's not your fault. I don't know that I told anybody to remind me about this. Go all the way back. Oh, I feel bad. We lost a couple people. Remember when we were talking about Substack and I said that it was two things and I said I was going to come around to that other thing? One of the things that you got to remember on those posts, okay? You can post your comic, and I want you to post your comic. This is going to take more than 5 minutes. If you gotta jump out at 3, you got to jump out at 3. But this is important for me to talk about. When you're posting to your subscribers, remember I said Substack is two things, posts and notes. Let's go back and talk about posts. There's two types of post. Okay. And I know that gets confusing, but hang with me. Hang with me. Tess, you're coming in at a great time. I just caught myself making a mistake and I'm going to fix it. Uh, so, Substack, for a cartoonist, the posts come in two formats. Number one is your comic, and when you post your comic, that's it. I don't want chatter from you other than that transcript. That's it. That's enough for me. By the way, as a reader, I only want so much from you in the first place. And I know that sounds harsh, but if you think I'm lying, when we're done with this live stream, open up your Substack statistics and look at your open rate. You're probably getting 30, 40% if you're really banging away at it, right? And these are people that signed up to hear from you. We always blame the social media algorithm saying, well, they signed up to hear from me and the algorithm won't let them. Well, the problem with that is here on Substack, they signed up for you, same thing. And it's not that the algorithm doesn't let them. They don't actually want to hear from you right now. And we gotta have the temerity to understand that. Okay, so when you post your comic, just the comic. I don't want a newsletter information from you. I don't want to know anything else. That chat. Save all of that for the second type of Substack post that I want you to do about once a week or so, whatever works for you. And that is a newsletter post. Then that's when I want to hear about your cat that got sick and about how you like root beer and about how you're showing up at this comic convention. You're still showing up to comic conventions. We'll talk about that next Friday. How you're doing this, you're doing that. And I want you to, if you listen to me on the Comic Lab podcast, you know I hate magic number advice. This is the one time I'm going to give you a magic number, 500 words. You keep that email newsletter to 500 words or less, preferably less. Why? Because you're not that interesting. And I'm sorry, somebody's got to say it. Guess what? I'm not that interesting either. Okay. And if you're sending your poor reader 1,000, 2,000 words, they're tuning you out. Remember. And part of that, it's a little bit you're not that interesting. It's a whole lot. Your reader has a short attention span, and we've got to live. We got to play the cards that we were dealt. Okay, our readers have a short attention span. They got other things going on. They got cat videos that they get to flip to as soon as they're done with you. 500 words or less. Okay, now, you got more things to say? Great. Put it in a Google Doc, because the good news is, unless you're 80 years old, you've got decades of creativity ahead of you. You don't have to put it all in one newsletter. In fact, what I see time and time again, and there's people that I name that I follow on Substack. He'll give me this whole newsletter that I don't read a tenth of it because it's so long. And then he doesn't write for another month and a half. You know why? He's got nothing left to say. He put it all in that one newsletter that I didn't read a tenth of. 500 words. And then what I want to know is, if you're doing a storyline, hey, here's what's going on in the comic, and here's what's coming up next. Here's what's going on in this other project that I've got. Remember, we're cartoonists. We've always got to be reminded of this, and it's weird that but I got to be reminded too. We're visual people, right? Your newsletter should have lots and lots of visuals. And I don't care what you post. Studio tours. Here's my sketchbook. Here's a root beer float. I don't care. I want visuals in that. We're visual people. Our readers expect visuals, okay? Once a week, a newsletter. And I do a newsletter for Webcomics Handbook, and that's where you get a little bit more idea of what I'm writing about and so forth for my paid subscribers. Okay, and I'll tell you what's coming up, what we've done, blah blah. But like I said, if you're subscribed to the Webcomics Handbook, fantastic. I'm happy to have you, and you'll definitely be notified next time we do a live stream. But I don't do a lot of free posts there, because most of the stuff I do there is for my subscribers. Okay. And I think there's ways to get like a free subscription in Substack. You folks know more about that than I do. So if you're like, nah, maybe this guy's full of shnikes, give yourself a gift certificate or a free trial or whatever that stuff is. You can tell whether you like me or not. Okay. A lot of root beer hate today. Yeah, I gotta think. I love root beer. It's just finding a good root beer is tough. Back in the day, you could find a little bit better quality root beer and ginger ale. You want to hear me talk unhinged for an hour? Get me talking about Burners ginger ale before they change the formula. And my kids have heard that. They go running out of the room. They go running out of the room. Quentin, now there's another person that I know. Quentin, thank you for joining us. Thanks, Lindsay. Uh, it's 3 o'clock. At some point, I've got to go over to the other side of the studio and get back to work. I've got some great stuff going on. Uh, but thank you for joining. Thank you so much. There's so, as you can tell, there's lots and lots of things to talk about here. We haven't even talked really about 9/10 of what we can. So I'll tell you what, I'll put it on my calendar. We'll try to do this again next week at 2 o'clock. I know that's not the perfect time for everybody, and maybe I'll move it around a little bit. Hey, thank you. People saying thank you, and this is good. I need to hear that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because you got to realize how weird it is. I'm sitting in a nice sized studio all alone, just talking to a phone, and that feels weird. So thank you, Simone. Thank you, Marguerite. Thank you. Looking forward to talking to you, Ree. Thank you. Stan, thank you. Stan, like you got some of those people that every time you do something, you know you're going to see them because they're just your stalwarts. It Stan's like that. I know. I'm not surprised to see Stan here. He's just that guy. Tess, thank you. Wisdom, 500 words and just the comic. Yeah, now those are two things. Tess, 500-word newsletter is one post. Just the comic is another. But you knew that. I'm going to do translations after the comic. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Transcripts, unless you're in two different languages. Chris, thank you for showing up. There's another name, Mad Scott. Yes, thank you. Cassandra, Quentin, Chris. So here's the deal for Chris is about sizing online. You put that into Comic Lab, it deserves an answer. I just have to sit down and so I'm not. That's a question I can't do off the top of my head. I got to sit down and like nail out, and it'll end up being a post for Webcomics Handbook. So it's not that I can't do it or don't want to do it. I'm going to give you good information on that. But this is one of those things that I've got to sit down and give you because it's numbers and I got to give you good numbers. Okay. But it hasn't fallen off the list. I promise. Thank you. Very nice stream. I appreciate it. It's yeah, yeah, and yeah, I like doing the live draws, but this is more fun. I don't draw and talk very well. And but oh, by the way, if you did like this, do check out Comic Lab, the podcast. Check out the Wrong Way Show on YouTube. That's me, Dave, and Kevin McShane. We try to draw a character the wrong way, and we roast each other the entire time. We've all got very good nasty senses of humor, and we're all really good friends, so we can say terrible things to each other, and we know we love each other. It doesn't matter. Check out the Wrong Way Show. Thank you so much. I'm gonna call this a day. Oh man, part of me, I'm telling you, part of me could do this until another hour, but I got to get back to work. Let's aim for next week. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Angela paused Comic Lab just to listen to that. That's way too much Brad in your ear. You need to take it. Listen to Ezra Klein for a couple minutes and then come back. You need a palate cleanser. Quentin, we'll see you next time. 2 o'clock next Friday. I'm gonna go. And you guys, I'd be all hyped. I'm gonna put it on my calendar. Let's call it 2 o'clock next Friday. And have a great week of creativity. I'll see you online. I'll see you on Substack, Blue Sky, all the places. Thank you. This was great. This was really great. Thank you so much.